welcome to the third ever episode of Generation BTS, the podcast, where we take a closer look at all of the BTS albums in a very random order. I'm Christine, I am 28, and I've been ARMY for almost a year now. And this is my co-host, Leanne. Leanne, can you tell us about you?
I'm Leanne, I'm 33, and I'm the baby ARMY of the group, having been ARMY for about 5 months.
And then we've got Natasha.
Hi, I'm Natasha. I'm 18, and I've been in ARMY for 6 years-ish.
Nice. And if you're new to the podcast, the premise is, like I said, we talk about an album each time. It's in a random order, and we provide the perspectives of 3 different decades, hence the generation title. Just so you know, we are not experts on music, K-pop, or BTS.
We're just fans sharing our opinions on the boys.
And please be aware, we do swear.
So yeah, we shall jump right in, but first, some housekeeping. So we're recording this, just gone through 3 days of track lists for the new album Proof. Very exciting. So yeah, what do we think? Do we have any thoughts on the track list, Leanne?
Yes, excited.
Yes.
Happy. We're excited. We've agreed that we might meet up for the album release, which in the UK is 5 a.m, which is a really, solid time to be awake on a Friday. So we've committed.
Holiday will be taken as well.
Yeah, we've committed to being there and being together.
Yeah, I've not told my boss that yet, but I will be on holiday.
And we pre-ordered our albums.
Yeah, we have.
Pre-ordered our albums.
We pre-ordered, so yeah, we're excited for that. That's going to be really exciting. Right, shall we get into why we're here? We're here to talk about Map of the Soul Persona today. So Map of the Soul Persona was released on the 12th of April, 2019. So just over 3 years ago. And it marked the start of the Map of the Soul era. Now, as the only person who was ARMY at the time, Natasha, can you tell us how you felt about Map of the Soul Persona when it came out?
I remember because it was around the time that I went to see it. Well, just before. In high school, I didn't have any friends that liked BTS. So it was just me being like, oh my God, this thing's coming out at 3:00. And I think school finished at like 2:30. So we literally like get home and wait. Or might have been 4:00 actually, with time difference. But yeah, get home and just wait and be like, refresh. And waiting for everything to come out. Very exciting. Yeah. Loved it.
Have you had, have your opinions changed on Persona since it came out, do you think?
No.
Loved it then, love it now.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
When it came out, did you, look into a lot of the lyrics and a lot of the meanings and where all the stuff came from, or did you just, consume it as pop music?
No, I think I probably had the subtitles on, the music video, but that was probably about it. Because I'd watch it first and watch everyone. What are you doing? Every little movement. And then I'd rewatch it again with lyrics and try read the lyrics, but obviously get distracted. But but then just only that bit, which obviously isn't the best translation, but
Yeah, it gives you some idea, I suppose. Leanne, any immediate thoughts on Persona? How do you feel about it?
So we know that I had a difficult time with the start of the Skool era.
Yeah.
So really embarrassingly, though, not very embarrassingly for the podcast, having only been 5 months born, I've not had my first ARMY cry yet until we spun in Persona, which was just, I was so overwhelmed by the fact that we would go into an album that had Boy With Love on, because obviously Boy With Love was my first sort of song in. So as soon as we'd finished recording last time, when we spun it in, we put it on play, and then Boy With Love came on in the first few beats, and then I just started crying.
Yeah.
And then Christine was like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm just so relieved, because I just know that this album's going to just mean so much more to me, and it's so much more similar to music that I like, because I'm not that into sort of hip hop R&B. So yeah, that was my first BTS ARMY cry.
Yeah.
Was about the
Being
joy of moving to Map of the Soul Persona for the next 2 weeks. I'm not going to lie, it's been a really great 2 weeks. I have really enjoyed putting it on every spare minute that I've got, reviewing the lyrics, watching the content. I've been very happy in Map of the Soul era.
Perfect. Yeah, apologies to any Skool era stance. I don't mind Skool era. I don't want us to sound like we hate it, because we don't, but like, there's a big contrast, let's say. And I think by doing the album sort of out of order, we don't necessarily see that sort of development in the music. But like I said in the first episode, there's podcasts that sort of address that already. So we didn't want to sort of repeat everything that they said. But there is a big contrast between this one and the one from the previous episode. So just, yeah.
What about you, Christine? How was it for you?
Oh, well, it's a really good album. I really like it. But also, it's the first one where when I started to look into like the era and what it means and the themes and everything, I just went straight down that rabbit hole of like, this is about psychology. And I spent like a week learning about theory and like psychoanalysis and all of that stuff. And I was just like, wow, this is where I never thought I'd go with BTS. Although I sort of knew that the themes were there, but the extent to which the themes are there, that was kind of mind-blowing. So yeah, we'll get into that. It's obviously perfectly fine to just like the songs and listen to the songs and not know the whole deeper meaning bit, but the songs clearly sort of do relate to the bit that's on the intellectual level. So I think we'll need to talk about that as well, just to sort of give them their, or give the boys the respect that they deserve as Joonie's boys. So we'll try and do that. But yeah, should we talk about the era then? Because I think my bit where I said how I feel about it sort of leads us neatly onto that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so Map of the Soul as an era sits after Love Yourself and before the B era, which isn't really an era. It was more of like a lockdown album that sort of led us into the Permission to Dance set of concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, what they did sort of during COVID, I guess. And Map of the Soul, so here's where it starts to get complicated, is heavily inspired by Carl Jung's psychoanalytic theories about exploring one's soul. So this might be quite a heavy one for that reason, but I'll try my best not to get completely lost in the theories and just try and explain everything really like clearly and neatly. So Carl Jung, he was an Austrian writer, psychologist, and psychiatrist. He lived from 1875 to 1961, and he is known as one of the founding fathers of analytic psychology. He was the one that proposed and developed the concepts of extrovert and introvert personalities.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the power of the unconscious. Really big on that. So he originally sort of wrote his theories across 18 volumes of books, and they were sort of scattered. But there's an American author and professor called Dr. Murray Stein who sort of condensed them into different books about different topics. He wrote a series of books called Jung's Map of the Soul, which is obviously where this title for the album comes from. And he did write one called Jung's Map of the Soul Persona, Our Many Faces. So that's clearly the source material for this album. And he has written one called Map of the Soul Shadow. Sugar's solo from the Map of the Soul 7 album is called Shadow. Mm-hmm. And there's also Map of the Soul Ego, which is Hobie's solo. And he also wrote a book following the release of Map of the Soul 7 called Map of the Soul 7, Persona, Shadow, and Ego in the World of BTS.
Oh, so he's written a book about the boys writing songs about his book.
Yeah, very meta. So yeah, to sort of look into these books, I listened to this podcast that is called Speaking of Jung. And the podcast had this Dr. Stein on as a guest. And with him, they sort of had one episode where they explored the themes of the book, because he'd sort of been made aware that these boys were due to release an album which had the same title of one of his books. Mm-hmm. And he said one of his Japanese students had come up to him in a class and said, you know, this Hybe record label from South Korea are recommending your book on their website. And he was like, no, that's so weird. And then he looked into it and said, And then I discovered that they were going to release an album called Map of the Soul Persona, which is literally the title of my book. So
and then I sued
he
them.
was astounded. Not quite. He said he was astounded. So yeah, then he went on this podcast where he sort of briefly explained the themes. He said he had been like bombarded by questions from Army. Trying to ask questions about these theories and sort of what he thought the album might be about, and yeah, all of that sort of stuff. And the same for the girl who has the Jungian psychology podcast. And she also said that she'd become Army herself now. So love that. So yeah, there's a few episodes. So if you are interested in this, I would really, really recommend that podcast. I will link those in the description. Right. So I think in order to talk about the album, it's good to know a little bit of the basics, though. We can talk about the three sort of main aspects of the psyche, according to this guy, Carl Jung. So you have the ego, which is the representation of the conscious mind. So the thoughts, memories, and emotions a person is aware of. So that's sort of what you think about when you think about yourself. And then you also have the personal unconscious. So that is forgotten information as well as repressed memories. So everything that's sort of to do with your individual person that you wouldn't have in your immediate conscious. And then you have what's known as Jung's sort of most controversial theory, which is the theory of the collective unconscious, which is a universal version of the personal unconscious, which holds mental patterns or traces of memory, which are shared with other members of the human species. So he sort of believed that as humans, we all share certain symbols. And you can see that in the way that different cultures, religions, and people throughout time have come up with similar symbols. And he said that they stem from these things called archetypes, which are themes and images that we all share and were developed through evolution. So we have, to sort of explain it, we have these innate characteristics that are imprinted into our brains, and they've developed through evolution, and we all share them. So one example that I read on a website was the example of sort of fear of snakes or spiders. You know, loads of different people across the world, whether or not they live around poisonous spiders, will be scared of spiders. That's one that they think is sort of developed through evolution, because back in the day, if you were scared of spiders, when there were a lot of poisonous spiders around, then you were probably more likely to survive. And that's how sort of, even if you were a child that grew up around no spiders, if you saw a spider, you might know to be scared of it.
No, I was just saying I'm scared of snakes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm scared of spiders. Not that scared of snakes, but like if a poisonous snake was there, I feel like being scared of snakes is more rational.
Yeah, spiders are much smaller.
Yeah.
It'd be like being scared of worms.
Yeah, exactly. But like
also scared.
Scared of worms.
You're scared of worms? I don't know. They're not nice, but like
they remind me of snakes, so it's like
yeah.
Like,
So the archetypes are traits that are passed down ancestrally.
Yeah, and they appear like, you know how the different cultures and different religions come up with like roughly the same ideas a lot of the time. I think that's sort of the basis of it. But we'll talk more about the archetypes. So the archetypes basically, as he sort of explained it, are different parts of your personality or what makes up your soul. And there are loads of archetypes, but I'll go over the ones that sort of come up in the Persona album. The first one is the persona. Okay. Yeah.
Perfect.
So the persona is the Latin word for mask, and it's the sort of the face that we present when we face the outside world. So you might have a lot of different personas. You might have one when you're at work, and one when you're with like your family, and one when you're with your friends. And in different situations, you might sort of present different faces. This is what helps us conceal our real base self and helps us conform to the norms of the society in which sort of we find ourselves at any given point. Kind of like how an actor will take on a different personality for a role, basically.
How the boys take on their stage selves.
Yeah, so in the song Persona, obviously RM talks about being an idol and then being Kim Namjoon, so we'll get to that later. But that is a good example of persona, yes. So that's the persona. And then you have the anima or the animus, which is your unconscious feminine or masculine side, depending on your main gender. So if I'm a girl, then I'll have an animus, which is an unconscious masculine side. Whereas the boys will have an anima, which is an unconscious feminine side that you might sort of also repress. And this character will often appear in your dreams, apparently. And Jung thought that if you undermine your feminine side, if you're a man and you undermine your feminine side, it will prevent you from full psychological development. So it's important to sort of acknowledge that you have these traits. And then we have the shadow, which is composed primarily of the elements of ourselves that we consider to be negative. And we do not show this side of the self to the outside world. And that can be a source of anxiety or shame. So these elements can be sort of those that are universally bad, like envy or like anger or anything like everyone would say, that's a bad trait. But it could also be traits that you've been scolded for as a child, or you can sort of have traits that you personally consider bad, like if you see yourself as too weak and you don't feel masculine as a result, for example. That can be part of the shadow as well. So it's traits that you repress, basically. And then the final one that we'll talk about is the self, which is the one that provides a sense of unity in the things that you experience. So your true personality, basically comprising all the other elements. So for Jung, the ultimate aim of every individual is to achieve the state of selfhood. And how do you do this? You go through a process called individuation. So rather than repressing the traits that we talked about in the other archetypes, you need to sort of acknowledge those and integrate them with the traits of the ego, which is what you think about yourself. So that's sort of how you achieve the individuation, which is also important in the process of discovering and loving yourself. So Dr. Stein on the podcast explained that self-love in the early stages mirrors others' love for you. So like if your mom loved you, for example, you might see yourself as in the way that your mom had love for you. But once you're able to love yourself without the need to mirror, you truly love yourself. And we know that Aram said in his UN speech that he's working on understanding and loving himself. So and you need to know and understand your entire self to do this, according to Jung. Anyway, that's the end of my rant about Jungian theory. If you want to know more, listen to the other podcast.
I mean, the value of the theory is where it sits within the timeline, right?
Yeah.
So
I was going to talk about that next.
So we had the Love Yourself era that does talk about self-love and what's required and the difference between loving yourself and loving a version of yourself that loves someone else and really sort of talking to yourself in a way that's kind and caring and compassionate. Whereas I think when you get into the Map of the Soul era, you're really getting that how to love yourself and how you break those things down and how it's almost deeper in a concept, right? It's a deeper concept.
Yeah, agreed. Because in Love Yourself, I sort of had a little think about how they might have come to do an album about this and how it sort of links to the other concepts. So obviously we've done Skool era. I don't think that sort of necessarily links to this that much, because obviously it is a little bit about being true to yourself,
breaking the mold.
I guess that's relevant.
The voice of youth.
But then we also haven't done the Most Beautiful Moment in Life era, which is sort of all about transitioning into adulthood. When we also haven't done Wings, which is about the book Demian mainly, which is based on this theory, because I've just finished Demian, and it's the guy in the book goes through a meeting with all of these archetypes basically as he transitions through adulthood. So Demian actually kind of links both to Most Beautiful Moment in Life and to this era. So I think maybe they sort of uncovered the theory through Wings, and then obviously, like I said, the ultimate goal of individuation and of this theory is to sort of get to know your real self and accept your real self and love your real self. So that might have been how they happened up on Love Yourself after Wings. And then
how you got into Map of the Soul.
I don't think Love Yourself was a massively sort of theoretical exploration. It was more about the sort of relationship and like, oh yeah, we're happy in love, but I don't feel like myself. And then, oh, we're having this issue because I don't feel like myself. And then my realization was like, I needed to love myself. But then RM said in his V Live that we watched that they wanted to sort of zone in on something a little less big as a concept. And obviously they've sort of talked about the value of loving yourself, but they also haven't really talked about how you get there. So I think maybe that's how this came up.
Yeah, the love yourself was the what, and this is the how.
Yeah, exactly.
When the like track lists and stuff gets released, my Instagram was just filled with like people, like random notes pages that people had got together, bringing up their theories, and obviously people that cared a lot more going into being like, the names are all the track lists and stuff, like this must mean that this is like this type of concept, and this must mean that they're bringing it from this. And I didn't know about the theory behind it and concept behind it. I just myself didn't delve into it.
Yeah, but people cared about it at the time. Yeah. Let's talk about the actual album. So, like I said, Map of the Soul was released on 12th April 2019. It debuted at number 1 in the US and peaked at number 1 in the UK, New Zealand, and Australia. So
yes!
It made BTS the first Korean act to achieve the number 1 in all of those countries. It was also obviously number 1 on South Korea's Gaon charts. And it also reached number 3 in Norway. Yay!
Christine's from Norway.
Yeah, I don't know if we've said it.
We haven't.
No, so that's where I'm from. So I thought I'd give a big shout out to Norway. Getting it on like, bronze, but still, it's still good. The lead single from Map of the Soul Persona was Boy With Love, and then they released Make It Right as a collaboration with Lau, which they promoted as the second single later on. Some awards that it won. It won the Melon Music Award and the Mnet Asian Music Award Album of the Year for 2019, and the Bonsang and the Daesang at the Golden Disc Awards and Seoul Music Awards in 2020. And according to Big Hit, in their little blurb on the website, it talks about this album helping BTS share the messages with their fans across the world, and that they want to use their power to shape the future while embracing all of its shadows. Anyway, I think the first song is quite sort of apt in terms of talking about this stuff, although we don't want to spend too much time on Intro Persona because I think we're going to talk about it again when we get to do our Map of the Soul solos episode.
So I looked into Intro Persona, which was obviously a true gift from the team, because it's RM's solo, one of RM's first solos that I'm really looked into, and to do the sort of written by RM, P-Dog and Hiss Noise, and it's produced by Hiss Noise. So the track in and of itself is an intro track, which means that we won't be able to use it for any of the awards. So really the key to the song is around that word persona and in search of the answer to the question, who am I?
Yeah.
So it really is RM just sort of running lyrics about himself, the different versions of himself. Ultimately, he identifies 4 different versions, which are Kim Namjoon, an idol, a rapper, and a leader. And they appear throughout the music video and throughout the song at different stages. So it opens with the rapper and finishes on the idol, and how he conflicts with those, which I think is really interesting because the rapper is part of his persona and the idol is also part of his persona. So you're getting those two.
They're different personas, right? Or different aspects of
different
his personality,
aspects.
different masks that he sort of puts on. Yeah.
But neither of them are him.
No,
ultimately.
He's not just the rapper and he's not just the
idol.
Yeah.
So then within it, these lyrics sort of cover, who am I? It's a question I've searched for my whole life. He does a reflection about how nobody wants to know the real him. So the lyrics go sort of, the flaws of man that I know, maybe that's all I've got really. And that follows up with, the world is actually not interested in my clumsiness at all. My shadow, I wrote and I called it hesitation. So those parts of himself that he classes as part of Kim Namjoon and the shadow parts of himself, his flaws around hesitation.
Yeah.
They're the parts that he keeps back and doesn't feel like they would be accepted.
Yeah. He says about being immature as well, doesn't he? And how that's sort of part of his anxiety, or part of the shadow, sorry.
And then the idolized version appears much larger than life, like almost animated, characteristic, couldn't be real. I think also interestingly, the leader version of him, so he did all of his styling for the music video, and the leader version of him is wearing an oversized suit that's not buttoned up. Ultimately, you get this representation that's I think is quite vulnerable, right? We wouldn't associate the words hesitation with Aram at all, and I wouldn't ever associate him as an oversized suit leader.
No, yeah.
Like he completely fits within that role of who he is, and we take the clumsiness obviously with a fair amount of love for the god of destruction.
yeah, definitely. I think when he said that thing about the world doesn't care about my clumsiness, I'm like, no, we do. We love you for your clumsiness. On the other podcast, I said about people who are in big positions, like people who are named as CEOs or whatever, they sort of often feel a sense of insufficiency or foolishness. They'll sort of think about themselves and think, I don't know why people would listen to what I'm saying. I'm not good enough or smart enough or sort of experienced enough or whatever to be in this position, and that you sort of feel a disassociation with it. And I think that comes up, doesn't it, when he sort of has himself in this big suit, and when he sort of, I think he says at one point, someone like me isn't good enough to deliver the truth, and he has this whole big thing where he says someone like me isn't good enough for this, someone like me isn't good enough for that, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's a very sort of honest portrayal. I think the lyrics do a good job of explaining sort of the disassociation with who he really is, and when he sort of takes on these 3 different roles. But yeah, like you said, the music video also does a really good job of displaying it visually, the different sort of costumes that he wears when he's the leader and the rapper and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's a very good way of explaining this first archetype that we've talked about, and which also gives its name to the album. So it might be the most important one, I think.
Yeah, and I think very well done that the styling of the idol had to be animated. Yeah. It had to be larger than life. There isn't an outfit that you can wear. There isn't a depiction that you can choose that represents Aram as the idol. It has to be this big godlike figure that feels so far away from who he is.
Well, he's there sometimes when he wears the sort of modern hanbok robe thing. I don't know if it's intentional, but it made me think of the Idol music video where they sort of do wear those robes. So I guess it might be sort of a throwback to that song as well, which is very much about the sort of, they call me artist, they call me idol, I've got all of these me's inside me, but they're all me. And I guess that also is one that sort of has led them on to this persona concept. So yeah.
I think personally, I prefer like a vocal solo compared to a rap solo. So listening to this, I knew it wasn't going to be a favourite, but I do actually really like the little like sounds in the background, and as well the like main picture that I think of when I think of that song is we stood in front of that chalkboard. The amount of like analysation that came out of that from Army, incredible. Just think doing this podcast, you just really realise like much of a loop it is, where it's like that's from the beginning, but then they use that there, and then you're like, oh well, they've actually like remembered to use that there, and then it's shown up again there, and it's all one big circle.
You mentioned about the background noise. The background noise actually comes from the intro to, I think it's Skool of Affair. Yeah, there's an intro track where sort of RM, Suga, and J-Hope each do their own little sort of rap bit with different background music, and RM's background music they've used again in this intro here, and that's obviously like several years apart. So that's pretty clever. The bit about the whiteboard as well, it's it does have the ego shadow persona on it. So if you were looking into sort of what that all meant and you didn't get the theory from the title of the album, then you would have got it from those words. So yeah. Should we talk about the music video some more? Just sort of from a look how pretty it is sort of point of view.
It's really great. It's blonde Joonie, right?
Yeah, he's a vision at all times.
Yeah, blonde Joonie is a real highlight.
Yeah.
When we review the albums, we get to watch the V Live.
Yeah.
And blonde Joonie just like vibing along to the songs that he's written. It's just golden.
Yeah,
it's
Leanne really was into the V Live.
I was having the best time.
Right, and then we've got some performances. He obviously hasn't performed this loads because sadly the Map of the Soul tour never happened. Crying emoji
Every time.
Yeah. There is the one from the Map of the Soul 1 performance where he does wear the big suit and he sort of is on this podium doing it looks kind of like a presidential address type thing in front of all these people that are wearing these like gold ski mask things and sort of not along to the music. It's a little weird, not gonna lie. And the suit that he wears, it's oversized, but it's also like really like punky, and his hair is all spiky, and I guess it's getting at the same stuff, right? Like his ridiculousness giving this sort of leader speech. But yeah, it's a good one still. I'd recommend looking it up.
He said in the V Live that he was looking forward to performing it and doing it justice. So
yeah.
I think he does a good job.
But we hope that there might be time for some of the Map of the Soul solo performances at a later date. The last thing I had about this song was that in the other podcast they sort of talked about how he ends the chorus with saying sort of, where's my soul, where's my dream. In Young, he sort of calls out in the desert saying, where's my soul, where's my soul, and then the soul appears in the desert in the form of a woman with who he has a conversation, and this is the anime character. And they said it's really interesting how this song that sort of ends on where's my soul goes straight into Boy With Love, where they sort of sing with the woman.
Yeah, about the mirage.
Falsely
is the mirage.
Apparently, this anime character traditionally is often someone from a different culture. So like Western thinkers often imagine their anime as like an exotic woman, basically. So it would make sense in that case for someone who is from a quote-unquote exotic country to think of the anime character as someone from a different culture anyway, which might be an like American Western culture. But it could be that it's not that at all, but also it does seem to fit with the narrative. Anyway, should we move on to Boy With Love?
Yeah, so Boy With Love was written by Harem, Hitman Bang, Sugar, J-Hope, Halsey, and there's a lady that Harem refers to in the V Live called Mel.
Okay.
And that's Melanie Joy Fontana, she's got a writing credit on some of the songs throughout this, but he does refer to her in the V Live, so I thought it was worth mentioning her. And it was produced by P-Dog, and actually from the V Live, Harem wrote most of these. So he said he was a writing robot. He wrote most of the lyrics for most of the songs and just couldn't stop. So he'd originally wanted to call it a poem for the small things, because it really is about finding joy and love out of the little things in life. The simple things such as, Jimmy wanting to know, how's your day? Will you just send me a text? What makes you happy? Sugar's line about turning the time with you turns the ordinary is extraordinary. Yeah. It really is a love story, but a love song about the small parts of love and the little parts of love. So Amram said in the V Live that he was worried that Boy With Love wouldn't have enough meaning straight off to a listener compared to be a poem to the small things. But in the end, he was glad that they went with Boy With Love. And Boy With Love is the alternate or the reboot of the 2014 song Boy In Love, which showcases a shift in tone from the sort of aggression and passion of BTS back then, and some of the concept around relationships and women and the derogatory sort of remarks
in the music video.
In the music
video, there's a scene where Jin sort of pushes a girl up to the locker in the school, which apparently was very common in like K-dramas and stuff at the time, but seen through the lens of 2022, it's a little tough to watch. And he was very apologetic when he did it. Like you can see in the behind the scenes, he immediately goes like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." But anyway, it's been criticized for that since.
So yeah, it really just showcases that growth. Boy With Love is more about an image of acceptance, maturity, and growth. Boy With Love focuses on unrequited love. So You're irritated because they don't love you back. If you love yourself, you're in a better position to meet someone and appreciate the small things and moments of joy that you get from them.
Mm-hmm. And you have that love, and you sort of have it with the other person, right? You're not like trying to possess them.
Yeah, they're an active participant in the relationship and in the love. Love as a concept, not as a entitlement.
Yeah, exactly.
Some fans think that Boy with Love is a sort of fan song. So especially around some of the sort of "You Got Me High So Fast" lines about their sort of rocketing to fame, all on the back of what ARMY have done for them and how we drive them forward. But ultimately, it really is about the power of themselves, realising the importance and power of self-love. Yeah.
From what you said about Boy in Love, I think RM sort of said since that the criticism that he received during that era, I think it was in 2016 when people sort of started looking at this one, plus there's another song called War of Hormone that sort of got the same sort of treatment, and a few of the songs that they did pre-debut got the sort of it's misogynistic treatment by, I think, mostly the sort of anti-fans. But anyway, and Big Hit released a long statement saying that, you know, we thank you guys for alerting us to issues in the lyrics of some of the songs. Please take care and watch over them in the future, and sort of alert us to similar issues. So RM since has talked about how he now takes much more care when he writes lyrics, and sort of is constantly studying the news and the society around him, and takes advice from others on lyrics that he writes, like feminist professors and things like that. So obviously it became this opportunity for growth for him. And yeah, I think he said on the Be Loved, didn't he, that he thought that sort of song 2 to song 6 on the album was for ARMY. So I think we're entitled to see it that way. Apparently at the time, and I don't know if you might remember this, Natasha, but apparently they sort of had this hashtag that they used called Curious About ARMY, where they would sort of go on Twitter and put little questions like, oh, what did you have for breakfast? What was the most special thing that happened to you today? And like people would reply and tell them about their day.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It's like the early version of Ask Me Anything with JK.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they clearly were trying to sort of find out the little things. Jin has this line in the song where he says, "Come be my teacher, teach me everything about you." And do you remember this happening, Natasha?
No. I think I were on Twitter to find the stuff that got released, like photos and stuff. But I one more Instagram, like, to find out information.
Yeah, and it might have also been in Korean, I don't know.
It was probably in Korean, yeah, that is fair.
Twitter translate at that time, well, shit. Like, at the point where it'd be like, you'd translate it and it's something like, come suck this or something, and then you have to wait for someone, like, 5 minutes later for someone to be like, this is what it translates as, really?
So I've really liked Boy with Love for a long time.
It's also the first, I remember when you played it and you were like, oh, I don't really know if I can get on board with the music, when you were like just watching Run and stuff, and then you heard this song and you were like, oh, this one's great. Yeah, it's been a favourite for
It's been a favourite for me for the whole time, and it's a very, like, so I'd sort of always had my, limited interpretations of Boy with Love about and then when we first read the lyrics, J-Hope's rap just broke my heart, as always, like he does, which goes, everyone says I'm a hero, oh no. I say something like destiny was never my thing, oh no. World peace, a great order, oh no. I just want to keep you safe.
Oh.
And now whenever J-Hope does the rap, I'm like, he just wants to keep me safe. Like he doesn't care about all of these big things that he could have. Yeah. He doesn't want them. He just cares about my personal, no one else's, my personal safety and happiness. It's just really beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Hobie's rap.
RM has a section where he goes on about using the wings of Icarus, another sort of academic reference from RM. Some of us may know Icarus is the legend of the boy that sort of flew too close to the sun, and because his wings were sort of waxed onto his back, they fell off and then he died. But he's using the wings of Icarus to fly not towards the sun, but towards you.
Any day.
Yeah. So whether you want to see the you as ARMY or towards this sort of soul fulfillment piece that we're going to talk about throughout the album, or whether you want to see the You as like this Halsey that they're singing to. I guess it all works, but I think it sort of exemplifies a scenario where he's much more in control, right? And this sort of theme of boy with love, and this is something that they brought up on the other podcast as well, signifies a much more developed sort of ego stage. And you're able to sort of use that love that you have and sort of bring it with you and control how it's given to someone else, and use it as a resource and something that you can use to build good things, basically. Grow, yeah. So they're not in love, they're not possessed by the love. The ego isn't possessed, but they have the love there to use as a resource.
It is interesting. What did you think when you first saw the music video, Natasha?
A lot of pink. Very, well, some people would say feminine.
I mean, we talked a little bit about the music video already. I think we can just sort of let ourselves go to the music video, the charms of the music video, all the pink and all the bright, fluffy cuteness.
And all the hair.
Really, really good. I mean, we've got Blonde RM, we've talked about him already, but he's a vision. The era of blue hair Tay. Wow, that's one that stands out for me. He really, really rocked that blue hair, and that's hard to do.
And then Jungian.
Yeah, he's not really pink in the music video. He goes pink later, but in the music video, I'd argue that he's more like orangey. Like Natasha said, the music video is literally all pink, and it has this like movie theater theme. Halsey's in a phone box at one point, and then they're on a couch, and
it's like they'll jump onto the couch like in Friends.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Yeah.
And then the choreo's 10 out of 10, right?
The choreo is so cute. I love it so much. There's that little like jump where they all sort of pose, and then they do the little like jumps across the stage.
And then they walk down the stairs.
And then when they walk down the stairs, yeah.
So the never before seen dance practice, you'll know you found it if RM is wearing shorts.
Yeah.
You should favourite it.
Yeah.
And then there's times when
he'll every day.
And then he'll do like a jump kick, and you can see so much thigh.
For me, it's not all about the shorts and the thigh. Like, I watch different members, but I don't think you've ever seen anyone else, have you?
There's no one else in it. There's just RM. Just him on his own, dancing around in his shorts. So then the joke goes in our house. We've had it for about 5 months now, when Christine says, "Oh, do you want to watch some music videos?" And I'll go,
or dance practices, or
yeah,
any BTS content, let's say.
And I'll go, "There's this brand new dance practice just out, never before seen.
Yeah, I don't think
it's Boy with Love. I've definitely not seen it. Shall we watch that one?"
Yeah, RM's in shorts. Like I've heard rumors online that RM might be in shorts, and I think we really should watch it. It was funny at first, and then it wasn't funny for a bit. And then now I think it's come full circle. It's funny again. So hopefully you'll also find it funny in a weird way, although you don't have to live with it every day. So.
No, you can choose to. Fun fact about the music video. It was the most viewed video on YouTube at the time.
Oh, yeah.
It was the most viewed video within 24 hours.
It might also be their most viewed video. I think I've heard that somewhere.
The dance practice or the actual music video?
The music video. Unfortunately.
It's because the dance practice is new.
Yeah.
Fresh out.
We've never seen it before. Right. Should we talk about some of the other performances? So I linked the iHeartRadio Jingle Bell Ball, where they wore the white and black suits, and they did the performance with Halsey.
In some of the interviews that you've seen with Halsey, she said learning the choreo was really hard, and the boys were really patient with her. I think they've got a beautiful relationship with Halsey. It's really sweet. You see there's the clip of Halsey and RM's handshake. And
there was a photo that she posted a couple of months ago for Sugar's birthday where he holds her baby. And that was very sweet as well.
And she went to the Grammys but only stayed for their performance because she was fresh out of surgery.
And then also I think she came to the LA shows, I think it was. Yeah, and she sat there with her army bomb, and it was really cute.
Didn't they perform Boy With Love on Britain's Got Talent? I'm pretty sure they did, because I can remember my dad recording it. It's just come to me right now.
That's a cute moment. Looking it up now, they're all wearing these like pastel suit things.
Yeah, so it was when they'd arrived in the UK to do Wembley.
Yeah.
And then there's a really silly performance that we'll link as well, which is at an awards show where Jin and Tay perform it in a really low voice, and it's just really silly.
Yeah, that's silly. Right, okay, are we done with Boy With Love?
Yes.
Yes. Nice. Okay. Shall we talk about Microcosmos?
Yes.
Yes.
Woo!
Woo! Microcosmos. That's one of mine. Microcosmos was written by R.M. Sugar J-Hope, and then there's loads of American and/or Canadian writers on this. And there is a music engineer who is the personal recording engineer to Beyonce.
Is that DJ Swivel?
Mm-hmm. It was produced by Arcades. Microcosmos is the Greek name for microcosm, and the Korean name for it is Suwooju, which is spelt in the same way as the logo for the 2021 muster, which they sort of spelt out in English as Suwooju, which means small universe. The microcosm is a long-standing theory that says that the human being is a microcosm which reflects the macrocosm. So the macrocosm is the cosmos, the whole world and universe and everything that is, and the microcosm is the inner world that reflects the outer world. If you see your inner self in this way as reflecting the whole world and the universe, you will get an understanding of a huge space full of complexity and diversity within yourself. And realizing that you have all of this complexity inside you is also an important step towards individuation. The lyrics of this one are really beautiful. I really love the lyrics of Microcosmos. The first line I wrote down is Tae's one where he says, "We're shining brightly in our own rooms and our own stars." So through Jung, the psychoanalyst, he dreamt of the self and the microcosm as a star. So you'll see it throughout the song. They sort of refer to the stars and each person being a star and everything like that. So that's also inspired by the theory. And then they come in with the sort of pre-chorus that the rap line sings, which is, "Some lights are ambitious, some lights are wandering. Each person's light is a precious one. In the dark night, don't be lonely. Like all stars we shine. Don't disappear, because our existence is a big one. Let us shine." And then, yeah, all of the tears come out. And yeah, I'm going to say this because you talked about crying. I cry a lot at this. Like,
at Microcosmos.
Yeah, it's when I was watching the performances, I was bawling. Honestly, I'm fine. I'm just a big crier. That's
she cries all the time.
Yeah, I get moved very easily. I cried at Camp Rocker when they came out. This gives you an idea of the levels. But yeah, Microcosmos is the first BTS song that when I watch even the performances, I'm always like, this is so beautiful. But yeah, anyway.
I remember you telling me really early on. You remember because I started my BTS for Beginners playlist when I just got into it. So I had just the English songs and Boy With Love and maybe Not Today, maybe Mic Drop. And you're like, I can't wait until you get to Microcosmos and Magic Shop. And then when I first listened to Microcosmos and I read the lyrics, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so amazing.
Yeah, it's a brilliant song. I remember the first time I listened to it, I was just at on the tube on my way to work, I think. And it came on and the sort of, the start of it when it goes, it's sort of quite buildy at the start and it has, I don't know what the instruments are, but anyway. And I remember just thinking, wow, what's this song? This song is amazing. So even without knowing anything about the lyrics, I was just like, wow, this song's special. So
it is special.
So yeah. But anyway, back to the lyrics. The chorus obviously is, "You got me, I dream when I'm looking at you. I got you inside the pitch black night. We saw each other's light. We were saying the same things. The starlight that shines more in the darkest night." Jesus. Which is... that bit's about ARMY, I think.
Anyone that doesn't shout those two English lines when
you got
to
me,
it is,
I got you.
He's not someone I
know.
Yeah. I just love them. I'm like, yes, you have got me and I have got you. Yeah. And this is beautiful.
Yeah. And we see each other's lights, each other's individualism and each other's journey is what I wrote about that line. Arm does his little bit where he sings, "One history in one person, one star in one person, 7 billion different worlds shining with 7 billion lights." And obviously it's about each of us being our own light in our own world and our own star.
Because there's 7 billion people on the planet.
Exactly. I think most people know that.
Also super ambitious to be like every person on the planet.
Yeah. But
no, he loves the people
he does.
That he doesn't even know.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. He loved me before I was ARMY.
Exactly. He's like Jesus.
He's like Jesus.
I'm Jesus.
I'm
Jesus. That's the thing. Sugar's bit sort of alludes to how you know, he says 7 billion lives, the city's night view is possibly enough. Another city's night, our own dreams, let us shine. Your light shines brighter than anyone else's. So you get sort of an idea of the microcosm. And this is a global and universal idea. So it's sort of each society is reflected in other societies as well. The bridge likens the city stars and lights to the stars he looked up to when he was young. Don't know exactly who sings this bit, but it recalls RM's UN speech when he talks about looking up at the sky as a boy and dreaming his own dreams. But then when he was 9 or 10, he started worrying about what other people thought of him and tried to fit in with their expectations and their molds and their thoughts on sort of what he should be. So he took on the persona. And he says, I stopped looking up at the stars at night. I stopped daydreaming. I tried to jam myself into molds that other people made. Through this quote, he likens the stars to his real self. Oh. And when he stopped looking at the stars, he was no longer his own person with his own dreams. And then at the end bit, they obviously sing the Shine, Dream, Smile bit, which I've seen loads of people get tattooed, which is really, really lovely. And it goes, Shine, Dream, Smile. Oh, let us light up the night. We shine in our own ways. We shine just the way we are tonight. So yeah, we've all got to the place where we can sort of shine just the way we are. We can shine as ourselves. It's obviously about, I think, both the concepts of the self as the star, but also about the concept of the collective unconscious, right? Where you have the bigger meaning that we're all sort of linked to. And it also relates to the themes that they brought up in Boy With Love, which is that sort of the secret significance and the seemingly insignificant within anyone is sort of what makes them special and what makes their star shine.
Ordinary is extraordinary.
Exactly, yeah.
My initial thoughts were that the song sounds sad and sentimental, and it's like, without knowing what it means, you clearly think like, this is for ARMY. I can't remember which part it is. I don't know if it's the first one or the second one, that RM's like rap part. You can I think it's RM harmonizing with himself.
Oh, interesting.
And it's really good. I've also seen like performance videos written JK is harmonizing with him.
Yeah, I think when JK harmonizes with RM, you get a really beautiful sound.
Yeah.
You get that in Path, I think. From what we saw of the V Live, RM said that he wrote it for concerts, which is really beautiful. To get to that point where they want to end on something that's sort of happy and light and vibrant and on a very non-meta level.
Yeah.
You've got the lights, which are the army bombs that just sway back and forth.
I think they usually tell people to put the army bombs away and just shine their phone lights.
Shine their phone lights.
Yeah. So
that was like last song at concert. They do all the fireworks.
Yeah, they have the fireworks at the end.
Yeah.
It's perfect for ending the concerts, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
You'd just be crying the whole way. He doesn't have any choreo with it because they're always like watching and like looking out at the crowds.
Yeah.
And I know whenever I hear it, my arm automatically just starts waving. I think one of the lyrics that you didn't touch on that I had, which fits within the concert, is perhaps the reason this night looks so beautiful is not because of these stars or lights, but us. I think it's just really poignant in the beauty shining through the darkness. I think just really resonates. It's a brilliant song.
I think it was from the Mamas when they did the performance in the stadium, and they sort of stand in front of this like square screen, but then when they sort of lift the screen up, they have all the like I love you in different languages on the screen,
including Norwegian.
Yeah, including Norwegian. Norwegian's quite big, and it's like right in the front, and I'm very proud. But then it sort of managed to like fill the whole arena with all these like cloud light things, and I don't have any idea how it works, but it looks magical.
Yeah. It's almost like clouds, and then the light's peeking through the clouds, but obviously it's still inside.
Yeah, it's like
very
the universe
confusing.
within an arena, and it's not like on screens, it's like in the air. I don't know whether they had like, I was at Disneyland once, and they had this fountain, and they sort of managed to display video on the water in the fountain. So maybe it's something like that, but with like fog or whatever.
I think it's a really good one. I think the only other one is where they have the one where they make the world
Yeah.
It's always about the lights coming together.
That's
Really
all.
well done.
Yeah, and that links to the song, right? Our lights come together, and you're the light, and I'm the light, and then we're together. Oh. Natasha, anything you want to say?
How has it seen it live?
Emotional. I think now listening to it back for this podcast, I was just like pretty much in tears. Also, it's very nice because obviously 2019, before the big C, we got to do that. I got to go to Korea. Now I'm living my best BTS life in 2019.
2019 was a good year for Natasha's army life.
Yeah, definitely.
We should talk about the muster performance of Microcosmos, which is very silly, where they're all wearing the dumb hats.
Yeah.
And Jin's got his hair in a top pony. I was laughing so much. And the other boys are wearing like parrot hats, which you think would be the most ridiculous thing happening on the stage.
No,
but it's
not today.
Not today. It's Jin fashioning baby hair.
Yeah.
It's
Jin must always
I'm
be
not
the
over
most
it.
ridiculous in the encore, obviously.
Just the funniest thing.
Yeah.
I still smile about it now.
Yeah.
I think about Jin and the baby hair all the time. It brings me real joy.
Maybe that's what the antidote to feeling sad about Microcosmos is Jin and the baby hair.
It's
Maybe he
Jin
just
and the
didn't want people to cry.
I wasn't crying, I was laughing.
Yeah. But anyway, shall we call it there for Microcosmos?
We'll end on Jin's baby hair.
We love you, Microcosmos. Next song we're going to do is Make It Right. I did this one as well. So this one was written by Ed Sheeran and some other English writers. Weirdly, they all had the last name Gibson. As in there were 3 or 4 other writers and like 3 of them were called Gibson.
What a cool family of writers.
I know. RM Sugar J-Hope and is produced by F. Gibson.
Oh.
So,
Father Gibson.
So yeah, thank you to them. So it's their first Ed Sheeran collab. Permission to Dance was another one.
Yeah,
he wrote for them.
It was a banger.
He insisted that they keep the English lyrics in the chorus, according to RM and his V Live.
He didn't insist that they kept them in English. He insisted that they kept the lyrics, and RM then decided that they should keep them in English because Ed had requested that. So they could have changed them into Korean.
Oh, okay.
But
I
thought
he'd said that he wanted them to sing it in English, but
no.
yeah.
So they translated some of it. He just wanted that bit.
Right, yeah. So I think from reading this and from researching it, I think there's 4 ways you can understand this song.
Jesus Christ.
So 1, it's a romantic song. 2, it's a song for Army, which RM obviously said it was in the V Live. 3, it's a song about the universe story.
Okay.
4, it's about finding your soul and the whole individuation thing. So
1 and 2 can be the same, like Boy with Love.
I'm going to argue that all 4 can be the same.
Oh.
That all 4 can be true in the same song. So this is on another level, guys. The first line is Tay sings it, and he says, "The moment I noticed myself, I had to leave. I had to find out all day and night," which obviously he's talking about finding himself here.
Yes.
And then Jimin comes in and says, "Across this desert and sea." So here we have the desert and sea again. I wondered. So they're on this journey. And on the other podcast, they sort of talked about this journey being towards self-discovery. So that could be a thing. Then in the chorus, they say, "I can make it better. I can hold you tighter. On that long road, you're the light." And then in the post-chorus, they go, "The eternal night with no end in sight. It's you who gifted me the morning." So all the roads sort of lead to this you. Obviously, there's "I can make it better. I can hold you tighter" bit that sort of alludes to it being about a relationship. And then they're on the long road and you're the light. But all the roads lead to you. And the you is seen as this big enlightenment that they're all sort of seeking, the finding of the soul. And then in the next verse, Hopi's line comes in and says, "I became a hero in this world." And he sort of talks about his position. He talks about the loud screams, the gold microphone. But all of this is reaching you. It's the answer to my journey. I'm singing to find you. So if you imagine you as the soul and you're going through the journey of individuation and achieving self-love, you're sort of doing that through your passions, like through exploring this thing that you're passionate about. And obviously, I'm not trying to say that he became an artist in order to go through individuation, but like it was a part of his following his dream and his destiny, and that's a big part of this whole theory. You go through individuation both to achieve self-love, but also like to find this like destiny that you're meant to achieve in the world. And they say like everyone will find their destiny eventually. But then also this line about all of this is about reaching you. So using the microphone and everything could also be about army.
Yeah, 'cause the follow-up of that is all those roads are pointing to you. Everything was useless other than you. Just touch me like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is very much, that's Toby talking to me.
Yeah, it can be a bit romantic, but it can be about army.
Yeah, me.
Well, yeah, you as army.
As his romantic partner and as army.
Right.
Same thing.
Sure, yes, okay. RM has this line that says, your fragrance still penetrates and breaks me down, which also I think sounds very romantic. And then he says, now I'm spreading open a map called you, which I think is the clearest reference to this being about the soul, because obviously the album is the map of the soul.
Yeah.
And the map called you
is their internal map.
Yeah, exactly. And the you, it then becomes the soul. So whenever they say, I'm on the road to you, or the light is you, or the roads lead to you, blah, 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 they're on the journey to find the soul. And then Sugar's verse comes in after the second chorus, and he says, the reason that I survived in hell is for you, it was not for me. If you know, don't hesitate, please save my life. And that bit, I think, sounds like it's about army. So he sort of suffered, and he goes through the sort of the bits that he's talked about his sort of mental state, but also like the trials and tribulations that comes with like being a trainee and being an idol and all that sort of the hard work that he's had to do. And he does that for army. But I guess it also could be about the struggle to find your soul. And it could also be about, you know, finding your true love and all that sort of stuff.
Your theory's really stacking up here. It's about all the things.
It is about all the things. And then he says, I'm thirsty wandering this desert without you. I know the sea without you is the same as the desert. And obviously we know this allegory. Yeah, they love this one.
I've heard this sentence before.
Yeah.
Weirdly, it was called The Sea.
In the song called The Sea, they also talked about the desert and the sea. Oh my gosh.
We should have like the sea bell.
Yeah.
Because like whenever it's referenced, we go like, ding ding, that's
ding,
another
ding.
one to the sea bell.
Another one, yeah. And I guess, again, it could be about a love that he's lost and he misses. It could be about his time apart from army. It could be about the time when he's not found his soul yet. Or I'm going to talk about the universe story separately because I don't really think we can see that through the lyrics in the same way. But in the other podcast, this guy, Dr. Stein, he made the point that a song could absolutely both be about a lover and your soul. Because as we sort of talked about in the bit where we talked about how this is about self-love, you see, especially when you're young and you're sort of in your early relationships, you would see yourself and your soul through the person that you're with and how they love you.
Yeah, the best of me concept.
Yeah, exactly. So once they're saying sort of, oh, I can make it right, I can make it better, I can get back to you and all that, so find you again, they're both talking about the lover and the soul.
So you can you can get separated from like your true self.
Yeah.
Get back to it by having healing time.
Exactly. So really you could both find this self-love again, maybe by finding the lover again, but then obviously that we know that that's not the true self-love.
It's temporary.
So really what you need to do is go through the map of the soul and find the soul and then be able to have that feeling of being with your soul on your own.
Brilliant.
Yes, very, very brilliant. The second chorus, I think that's the one that you mentioned where they say all the roads are pointing to you. And then they say, just touch me like that time, which is something romantic.
Cheeky.
Yeah. That kind of signifies that there is one other person there, not an army and not, well, maybe there's an army, but we can hope, but they, that there's a person there basically. So yeah.
Have you got any thoughts at this stage, Natasha?
I didn't really get any, like...
Destiny vibes.
Yeah, it was a good song. I didn't look into it, I just listened to it.
Yeah. Then there's a bit about the universe story, which I hadn't thought about, but when I read it online, I think it was in the Genius lyrics, it said, the title of the song seems to refer to Seokjin's monologue at the beginning of the 2017 Love Yourself highlight reel. He says, if we could turn back the clock, where should we go back to? Once we reach that place, can all our mistakes and errors be undone? Will happiness be ours forever? So obviously the title, Make It Right, refers to, and I'm gonna spoiler the universe story.
No, my family agreed you wouldn't.
But you can,
Okay, wait, I'm going to cover my ears.
you can cover your ears if you really want to. So when they talk about the eternal night and you gifted me the morning, it seems like this whole song, Make It Right, is about how Jin keeps going back in time unsuccessfully, trying to save the members. And he tries and tries to make the members choose differently and avoid these sort of deaths that they all suffer. And there's speculation, the characters that the members portray in the universe story sort of need to go on this individuation journey to love themselves, find themselves, understand themselves, etc., in order to be saved. So Jin can't actually go back and make it right for them. They need to sort of do that on their own. So Jin can keep saving them, but they make the same mistakes.
In the I Need You music video, the members are haunted by their fates. After every failed attempt, Jin re-wakes to the same morning to try save the people he cares about.
Yeah, and after each attempt that he makes, he wakes up again and it's the morning and he lives the days again, and that's the theory on the universe.
And the only thing I got is that, again, this is one of those songs where
Yeah.
they're not about a fight between a boyfriend and a girlfriend or two partners who have then had a fight and then they've come back to try and like reconcile. It's not an apology song.
Yeah.
It's not that at all.
It's really like a good point because we're not really sure what they're trying to make right. That makes sense in the universe story interpretation, but other than that, what are they making right? Have they lost their relationship with the lover?
With themselves.
Or with themselves.
Should we do the performances?
Yeah, do performances. Right, so there's an MV for this, as in a music video for this song. It's the Lao version, though. But, yeah, it doesn't have Lao in it. It just has these sort of weird cartoon characters that sort of, there's a boy and a girl, and then the boy travels, and then they finds the girl again. And then there's loads of, like, clips of them from the Love Yourself tour, basically.
It's really great.
Yeah.
And the animation's really beautiful. I really liked when, at the end, when the girl turns into a blanket.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then he wraps the blanket around himself, which is where I didn't think it was a romantic relationship. I thought it was an army relationship.
But it could also be about the soul. I just really believe in the soul.
When I first saw the music video, I thought the little animated male character looked a lot like V.
Yeah.
So this music video came out while we were at college. So I were on like a computer for the most part of it. So me and my friend sat together and watched it while the teacher were like doing his thing. It's from the concert that me and my friend went to, and Leanne as well. And we were literally sat there like doing frame by frame to see if we were in it, internally screaming, being like, oh my God, oh my God.
Should we talk about the other performances? There's one that I linked, which I've called the sultry eye contact performance from M Countdown. Where they all wear these jeans and sort of light tops. I would love Hobie's blue jumper.
Yeah. Hobie rocks some really great looks.
He does.
He looks great in that.
And
so that's a different thing, isn't it? Because you want the jumper.
Yeah.
And I want Hobie in the jumper.
Well, I'd also have Hobie in the jumper.
jumper.
I really also, like, if I could buy the jumper, that'd be great. If I could have Hobie in the jumper, that would be, like, a million times better, obviously.
100%, yes. And that's the one where they look direct at the camera, right? I had to look away because JK was giving me the sex eyes too much.
Yeah. No.
Jin does the sex eyes as well. I had to look away then.
He does, yeah.
I very rarely get the sex eyes from Jin.
Yeah. It's usually the Tay and JK do the sexy eyes. And I also wrote that Sugar has these massive drapey blue sleeves, and they look nice. And his hair also looks really good. It's got this like common parting, and it's still the like lilac thing, and it's pretty. I like it a lot. And then I linked the iHeartRadio 2020 performance, which is the one where they all like really committed to the 70s Dynamite style. And Tay has the most amazing patterned Gucci trousers. I wrote about that one. And everyone has their Dynamite hair. So that's fun.
June's got the blue hair. Good day. Mm-hmm. And they do a bit of choreo on the crosswalk.
Yeah, they do.
Beautiful dance break. And it's all hips.
Yeah.
It's a shame about some of the outfits.
I like the outfits.
We could do without Jin's necktie. As always, I hate the ties. Hobie's cardigan's gorgeous, though.
Yeah. No, I really like the outfits. And then there's the Love Yourself Soul encore, just because I wanted to include a Love Yourself concert of this one, which I think I put encore It looks pretty. It's like they do it in the dark. A lot of headbands, and Tay has a hat on.
JK's got semi-long hair.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, he
I
does.
do love the hair on JK.
Yeah. Shall we move on to home? Natasha, you did this one, so please take us away.
The next song is Home, which is produced by P-Dog and written by RM, Sugar, J-Hope, Random Americans, and Adora. The R&B track expresses how BTS fans are a home to BTS, and ARMY are the ones they turn to when they're tired and lonely, which is very, very warming to the heart. I'll talk about some of the lyrics. The first lyric is, it's in this excitement that's driving me crazy, I wasn't able to greet you. When Jimin and RM joins on that lyric, it intensifies the meaning. The lyric implies that as K-pop idols, they are unable to find time for their loved ones. Even though their job is exciting, it affects massively on like loved ones, which could mean home to them. ARMY is home, but also real deep down home is family.
Is it very conflicting meanings?
Yeah,
You know?
it could be both.
It could be.
right?
Could be both.
Yeah.
It could be both.
What I sort of wrote about it was like that opening line and the chorus, and I think it comes up a little bit later when they talk about sort of how they left home to become trainees and then they found home in ARMY. So they left home to find home. That's what I got from it anyway. But yes, you're right, it's conflicting.
The next lyric that we're gonna say, the whole world is my home. BTS is a worldwide group, so their home is their fans. Their fans are all around the world. So it's kind of saying that they like feel comfort no matter where they are because they always remember that they've got ARMY.
Mm-hmm.
Next lyric would be a very common reference. I saw the ocean, before I opened this door, which is a reference to Sea, the hidden track. And then in chorus, there's a line that's, this place is probably mi casa. They're saying it in a different language, showing the like internationality, if that's the word, of BTS and the fans. Yeah.
It's showing that they have international fans, right? So they have a song that goes in 3 languages. Yeah. Globalization.
The lyric suggests that home is different to everyone, so it could be a person, a place, a song, an idea. The last lyric that I analysed is, even if we have what I wanted in my dreams, big house, big cars, big rings, the unfamiliar feeling of missing something for someone who has accomplished everything, which is a line repeated from No More Dream.
Yeah.
Youngie throwback.
This lyric, it shown that like in 2019 they have these materialistic things, but there's a sense of emptiness that a possession can't really fulfill.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they talk about it through the song, right? Being like the loneliness. I sort of read it as being lonely after doing concerts, because I've heard them talk about how after you sort of do a concert where you have all these people like screaming at you, you can sort of feel this like crushing loneliness after.
After the adrenaline. It's from Outro Her.
After being with ARMY, they have this sort of loneliness. And Hobie actually says in his verse, he says, I still feel strange as I close my eyes inside my blanket. I feel poor in this wonderful place. As in like, he's got a lovely house, I'm sure, or he might be staying in a lovely hotel, but he just feels strange about it. It's the loneliness and the strangeness of like not being in this big space with ARMY, I think. Sugar follows it up and he says his first line is very poor, so he feels very poor in the wonderful place. And then he obviously makes the reference to big house, big cars, big ring that Natasha mentioned. And he still feels empty. But then he says, but I go out the door since I know I have something to return to.
Oh, that sounds...
And then Jin says, you knew me when I had nothing else. I could smile at the thought of you. The place where you are is probably mi casa. So yeah.
The only line I've sort of pulled out that you've not already mentioned is the one day will you open the door for me when the doorbell rings 3 times, so that I could give the parting words that I did not finish. I'll tell you then. which I just thought was really beautiful. I really like the metaphor of the ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Now, whenever the doorbell rings 3 times, I'll be assuming it's Jimin.
Yes, we don't have to say please open the door. We shall just open it.
Really beautiful.
Yeah. I really hope that's how he does it. If he ever comes to knock on the door, I want him to say, excuse me. And then, you know, he can do whatever he wants. We love what we love. So, yeah, and I thought the line that he says about the parting words that I wasn't able to say, it sort of links back to the first part of the song where he says, I wasn't even able to greet you, which, like Natasha said, it definitely could be about their own families and like how they don't really get to spend time with them. But I think sometimes as well, they've sort of talked about not being able to sort of spend the time with ARMY that they want, and like
because of the mobs.
But because of the mobs, and like also the time that they've sort of put into the performances and the albums and stuff like that. And then at the end chorus, they go, long time no see, Mikasa. I came back. Hi, Mikasa. I thought that was cute. So, yeah, I think it's a deep song at the same time. Like, it's one that makes me feel really warm inside. It is very comforting and very, like, deep in that way. But it probably isn't about the soul. On the other podcast, they talked about sort of references to sort of going and coming back. Maybe can refer to this sort of
discovery.
Yeah, the discovery and the journey that you go on. And then I guess it could also be about how on the journey you use love from others to love yourself. Not that that's a bad thing, but they talk about this sort of love from ARMY being one that they really appreciate and one that sort of makes them feel at home and makes them feel comfortable. And they sort of use that love that we give them to love themselves.
Well, we know that.
Yeah. I actually remembered when I sort of researched this, there's a clip of Jungkook and Tae in the soup. Tae talks about how during lockdown he sort of started doubting whether he was someone who was really loved because he didn't get to see the fans. Yeah. And yeah, that sort of came back in my mind when I sort of heard this thing about how you sort of love yourself through love from others.
I guess there's worries there that, interestingly, there's worries there that you may never be able to tour again or never be able to concert, so you may never get to re-feel that
feeling. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you may never get that back.
Yeah, and it could also be about, the love that they feel in concerts and like how that sort of, I guess, is such a rush, but also they must just, when you have like however many thousand people screaming at you like, oh man, we love you so much, like that must be really powerful and like
must be great.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess the conclusion, if you want to see it this way, is that the love from ARMY, which gives them comfort and makes them feel like home, is helpful on their journey towards true self-love. So, performances.
Yeah. The first performance is KBS World 2019. Most people might know this video where I think it's V knocks over a water bottle and RM does not look impressed. So it's that one. They're all in pajamas, kind of. It's a really good performance, actually. They all seem very enthusiastic to be there.
Yeah. And the set is all filled with like home stuff, right?
Little take-up sofa bounds.
Yeah. And then we looked at the one they did on Jimmy Fallon, which was like a virtual one where obviously they weren't on the show because it was in 2020. But I think Jimmy Fallon did like a BTS week on his show.
He did.
RM has shorts.
Yes. He did. And he's got the lover
jumper. He does have the lover jumper. Yay. And they have the pajamas and the robes and everything, all the like loungewear. Suga's never in loungewear, but he looks cool when they film him from underneath because there's like glass stairs on this performance and they sort of film from underneath the glass at one point, and that's great. It's a bit of a weird story in this one. So they're in like walking around the house, having a lovely time, and then all of a sudden they all go into this big blue moving bedroom with like flashing lights and stuff. And I don't know what's happening there, to be honest. Yeah, it's a weird one.
I actually follow on Instagram the the videographer. He like does behind the scenes on his story. So it was cool to see like the whole huge production in like one big warehouse that like produced just for that one thing, and it shows like the immense like thought that's behind it, and how they like really care about every little detail, and it's really good. I like that.
Yeah, it's very like a massive production just for like Jimmy Fallon. No shade to Jimmy Fallon. I think he's one of the better talk show hosts when he deals with them, but they've put a lot of effort into this clip. So yeah, I'd want to watch definitely. And then at the end, I thought maybe it was like different representations of like the way that they were with Army, because there's after this big blue room, which I don't know what that means, but there's this scene where they sort of run around in a kitchen with like chaotic baking and flashing lights.
So that's Ron.
That's Ron, exactly. And then at the end, there's the confetti and they're jumping on the couch, and that means the concerts. They're at home at the concerts.
Nice.
So, but again, yeah, the blue room is a mystery. So if you have a theory on what the blue room could mean, please do write in. So yeah, the last one we looked at was the 2019, is it Lottie or Lot? I don't know. Anyway, it's like a duty-free company, I think, and it's a family concert. And they're all in these like cute suits. They're like black, but they have some sort of flower thing on them.
Yeah, they're very nice.
Yeah.
Jin's got a tie. He just looks like he's going to a business meeting. Again.
No, he doesn't.
He does.
He looks smart and worldwide handsome. I think you like this one, don't you, Natasha?
When I was looking for like performance videos, it like popped up, and I was like, "Oh, JK, I like his hair. I like his suit." And then I was like, "Oh my god." And then like scrolling rapidly just to try and like find these pictures that have both been like lock and home screens. They're just gorgeous pictures.
Yeah, and he's got this like sparkly blazer on. Jungkook, very handsome.
I'm a fan.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Jamais Vu.
Produced by Arcades, Bad Milk, and Marcus McCowan, and written by RM, J-Hope, and Hitman Bad. And it's a subunit consisting of JK, Seokjin, and Hoseok, which I actually didn't know it were a unit. I have never realised that like there's no one else in it. But I guess it's kind of because you've got like your vocals and your rap.
Yeah.
The phrase jamais vu comes from a psychological phenomenon of when an individual is doing something they're familiar with, but it seems foreign to them. This is the opposite of déjà vu. Jamais vu is often associated with reading common words or seeing people you know and momentarily not recognising them. The idea of not remembering familiar things has been prevalent throughout BTS's ongoing storyline. Most recently, in their Save Me webtoon, the story follows Seokjin repeatedly reliving the same day in an attempt to change the fate of his friends. So the first lyric that I have is, "It'd be better if it was a game because it hurts so much. I need to heal my medic. I'm another star," which is a reference to a game that is very popular in South Korea called StarCraft. In the series, medics can heal other units but can't attack, which makes them more vulnerable on the battlefield.
Yeah, the character in the game has reached a dead end, and so has the person in the song, right? Like, yeah.
And all I wanted was to do well. I wanted to make you smile. Damn. Is mirrored lyrics from 2-3. It encourages ARMY to forget about the sad memories and to hope for better days. In this verse, J-Hope thanks ARMY for believing in him, even though he feels though he is lacking. The theme is then continued into this song, Jamais Vu, which he discusses feeling imperfect again. So it's like another loop and cycle where they express one thing and then it pops up again.
All I wanted to do was do well. I wanted to make you smile reminded me of his rap in Boy With Love as well. The concept of like wanting really simple things for the people that you care about and love.
It highlights how he strives to perfection and he wishes to make ARMY happy. And then I become afraid of every word, my jamais vu. Again, I try to escape as always, but still you always grab me, even as my shadow grows. This is one of the earliest mentions of the shadow theme through J-Hope's confessions that he is afraid of his actions and his lyrics. in a case they hold no meaning, and he didn't want to like lose his passion for music. He's also saying that him and the members rely on each other for emotional support when they feel afraid or inspired, and that they are a remedy to each other's insecurities. And then Run and Run Again, Stumble Again, which is taken from the previous song, Run, which is like linking back that this song is familiar because it's their old song.
Mm-hmm.
Please give me a remedy. So is this success, I came back, a remedy that will make my heart beat again. I'll concentrate on researching you no matter what. Falling, stumbling, what should I do now? This familiar pain seizes on me again. Save me, it's not easy this time either. Please give me another chance. I am giving up. No, never. I won't give up. This is a connection to the universe. So Jin saving his friends, and whenever he fails to save someone, on the 11th of April, his day repeats. It repeats multiple times to the point that he feels hopeless and but still determined. And the last bit is, Seokjin does not realise that he is not the one to save every single one of his friends, causing him to fail.
Yeah. So there's a line that Jin says where he says, I tell myself I'm used to this, but it always hurts like it's the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So what they sort of took out of this on the other podcast was that it's about sort of repetition and repeating the same mistakes. So the journey towards yourself is not like a continuous thing, right? You will have your struggles and you will make mistakes on that journey. And you might find that it seems like a bit of a repetitive cycle where you sort of, it's not like once you've achieved individuation, you have it forever type of thing. You have to like keep coming back to it. After he says about my shadow grows larger, he says, my life and you are the equal sign. So my life and my soul are the same. My life is finding my soul.
Got it.
Yeah.
Whereas I thought my life and you was like BTS's army is BTS. We are.
But
one could not exist without the other.
But it can be both.
It can be both. I'm taking the theme.
I think it's one that Arm said it was about army, right? So
yeah.
You know, Nash mentioned about the game that they're referencing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very elegant metaphor because I think JK sort of mentions about it at the start, like, oh, if this was a game, I could just sort of
reload
as if nothing happened. But in this, I think he says, I think I got to deal with this.
This
real
is real
world.
life.
Yeah, this is the real world. In games, you sort of repeat and repeat and repeat till you get it right. And that's also what's happening here. You can recognize your patterns. You can break the patterns and achieve personal growth. And he apologizes for not being perfect, but actually being conscious of not being perfect is like being conscious of the shadow and the sort of complexes within yourself.
The producer, Arcades, he said that when like the name was announced, that they had to like research it, and that they were like blown away by the concept and how everything worked and fit together perfectly. So like even like the people that produced the song are like even blown away by BTS.
Yeah. Shall we talk about performances?
Yeah. I could only really find one, which is the weird drawn stairs from the Bang Bang Con. If you watch it, they come out of one door and then just take the same like route to go up the stairs, down the stairs.
Exactly. They're going in circles, repeating the same patterns. Obviously, that's what they're getting at. Yes.
Yeah. And it's lifeless, right? There's no colour there.
Yeah. Like you could be in your home, but if your home looked like that, it probably wouldn't feel very familiar because it's just white walls. So yeah, the outfits are cool. They wear some grey jeans and like some blue shirt type things.
We really like Hobie's sad raps. I think you really feel that emotion.
Yeah, and I wrote that just sort of sonically. The bit at the end where they all sort of do the Jin and Jungkook sing the end chorus and they go like, oh, about the remedy and stuff, and then Hobie does his little like sad rap behind them where he sort of cuts it in, and that's great. It's like harmony and everywhere, but like sad harmony.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah. Jin does a good job with his emotional singing, I thought, as well, because he's good at that. He's good at conveying the emotion, is Jin. And then we had the clip of the Marry Me.
Marry me.
Marry me. Yeah, I think it was V Live, wasn't it? Where they sort of were talking about how all the comments said marry me, and then all of a sudden RM and JK at the same time shout out
Marry me.
Marry
They sing
me.
it like that.
Yeah.
They say marry me in the remedy.
Yeah.
Harmony.
And then JK's like, wow, you're such a great singer. And we knew that already.
We did know that already.
Yeah. Right, last song of the night, we are doing Dionysus. It was written by RM, Sugar J-Hope, P-Dog, Hitman Bang, Supreme Boy, and Roman Campolo. And then it was produced by P-Dog. So it's a song referring to Dionysus, who is the Greek god of fruitfulness and vegetation, and he was especially known as the god of wine and ecstasy. And I think he's also a god of the arts. He's linked to fertility, feasts, and wine, and his Roman name is Bacchus, which is where the word bacchanalia comes from, which sort of refers to lavish, drunken celebrations filled with food, wine, grapes, etc. And Dionysus, he was a foreign god, so he came in from the north, and he invaded and disrupted the life of the people there. So he was someone who came in and sort of shook things up. The song starts with this really amazing call response section where Tae and Jin sing the sort of drink it up while Hobie shouts in the background. He goes like cheers and sippin' and arms length tiffin, and then D-style, which is my favorite one. And theursis, I'm going to commit to the way of pronouncing this word as theursis. The theursis is a wooden staff that was associated with Dionysus, and it was covered with ivy leaves and vines. RM sort of raps about ivy and rough trees that become a mic, so the theursis becomes the mic, which is why they bring it up all the time.
And he wields around that staff.
He does, yeah, in the
performances.
Yeah, he has the big sort of staff. Different from the pimp stick. We are bulletproof.
It looks like a pimp stick, but it's not.
It's not. It's the really elevated, like, Greek mythology version. And it's actually a mic. And it represents fertility. So maybe it's actually kind of like the pimp stick. Yeah. Maybe that's where the pimp stick comes from.
Maybe this is the origins of pimp stick.
This is what BTS does to you. You see all these weird links in all the weird scenarios.
Where it says, like, there's this, and then gripping the grape. I've got the Korean word for grape also is a metaphor for empty seats at a concert.
Oh yeah. I read that too, actually. So they could be talking about how there are no empty seats at their concerts, basically.
Flexing.
Very much flexing. So RM comes in and he sets the scene for the song where he says, just get drunk like Dionysus, cheers with one hand, theursis in the other. He's talking about the sparkling masterpiece in transparent crystal. So he's talking about the alcohol that's in his crystal glass as the art. And art and alcohol, they're quite similar in Korean. So he's saying yeso, which means art, is also so, which means alcohol.
Ah, right. Okay.
So yeah, they're comparing the art to the alcohol, basically. And then he says, let's get reborn, which is linked to Dionysus because according to mythology, he's known as the god that was born twice. And then Tae comes in and goes, get drunk, the crazy artist. That's in the chorus. So I think what they're talking about here is sort of a creative release, right? So they're talking about sort of alcohol and the art having this interlinking relationship. A lot of artists were known to indulge in the alcohol. But they're also sort of saying that you can get drunk on art. Yeah,
that's how I read it, as in like consume, keep going until you're overwhelmed and you can't necessarily
there's both of these
feel or enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's sort of a little bit about sort of celebrating the party. Like a moment of release can be good for your creativity and can be good for the art that you produce, but also the art in itself can be intoxicating. In the second verse, I talk about the screams when they step on stage, the low note that fills the studio, and then Hobie does it when the night comes, mumble, mumble, mumble. When the night comes, tumble, tumble, tumble. The bass goes to like dum, 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 dum. So I think that this sort of likens the drunkenness and the party that they're talking about here, because they're talking about drinking and partying, to like the performing and the being in the studio.
Getting high on the adrenaline.
Yeah, exactly. Getting high on the art and the performing. And then we get to Suga's bit in the bridge, where he raps about wherever they appear, the stadium is a party. So again, we can sort of understand that the art is the music and the party can be the concerts. He has another line that says, born a K-pop idol, reincarnated as an artist. Again, they're talking about being reborn. And at this point in time, they are starting to be respected as artists and not just performers. Although they were involved with the original music at the start, they probably just didn't get that credit really. But now they're artists.
And I think the repeat of the reborn an artist actually probably throws back to era after era after era. You get the
and they sort of reinvent themselves as artists.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then he says, whether I'm an idol or an artist, what does it matter? Let's cheers. And that recalls the song Idol. He then says, art at this level is heavy drinking. The new record is the fight against oneself. And this is the soul. So we've already established that the art is like alcohol, but Suga is likening the art with heavy drinking, I think. The way I read that was about sort of how their art now has taken on this higher level, right? It's about this very high-minded subject matter. And then he follows that up with the explanation of the new record being a fight against oneself, which I think means that it's the way to the map of the soul. Like that's what it's about, the new record. So this one,
similar to earlier,
very meta.
Yeah, similar to earlier, encompasses the whole theory in that one line, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The new record is the fight against oneself.
Yeah, definitely. And he's sort of, I like that he's sort of showing off about treating this sort of subject matter as well, because you wouldn't see like a Western rapper be like, my album is about
philosophy.
Yeah, that would be very strange. So he's like, look at my art is at this like completely higher level.
When I say Phil, you say philosophy, Phil, philosophy. Yeah, that's the new Snoop Dogg one. That's how the collab goes.
Then he says, toast to this one shot, but I'm still thirsty. So despite them having reached the lofty heights, he's still ambitious and he wants more. So he's talked about that before. Obviously, he mentions the sort of wanting something still in home.
He really wants that Grammy.
Yeah, he does want the Grammy. I guess that could be higher.
That's
but
literally the only thing he doesn't have.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, then they go into until the sun comes up, where the party at, until we sleep, where the party at. It's described in the other podcast, and I won't go into it a lot because I think we've talked about it enough. But the way that we sort of mentioned about Dionysus being this sort of person who comes in and shakes things up, he sort of saw it as one where they sort of can blow off the steam of the persona trap, because when you drink, when you sort of let go like that, you let go of your inhibitions, right? Like you don't really have the persona anymore. The way that Dionysus sort of came into Greece and broke down all structures and sort of old patterns, that in the same way the alcohol sort of lowers your inhibitions and the sort of walls that you've put up through the persona. So I don't know if that's the theme, but that's sort of how they read it anyway.
Maybe they're partying because they found the soul. And then you're hungover, so you're back at the beginning. You've got the hungover anxiety, question yourself. Yeah, then you're back on the map.
I guess so.
You should be able to celebrate at points of self-actualization.
Yeah, you could be correct there, because Jung actually wrote about the great need to blow off steam, and without releases you'd explode. So Dionysus comes in both in the album and in the mythology as this great loosener that sort of releases you from the persona, and you might be a more creative and a freer person as a result. That's sort of what I got at the start as well, when I said that the Greeks ended up integrating Dionysus into their society. So he ended up actually sharing a temple with Apollo. Apollo is obviously the god of beauty and the sort of the perfect one, whereas Dionysus is the imperfect one, if we want to put it that way. Simply put. Yeah, so with them having to share this temple and sort of both be part of the Greek society, I guess you could see that as an acknowledgement that the human personality has both light and dark.
Wow.
Yeah, we haven't talked about this yet, but good versus evil and sort of how both are important and both are relevant. They are brought up a lot in Wings, and it's something that RM said that he sort of contemplates a lot. Should we talk about performances? There's some really good ones for this one.
What, have you got any thoughts?
Personally, it's just not my vibe.
That's right. No, to be fair though, it wasn't like my favorite at the start. I really just didn't sort of get the style of the song, and I was just a bit like, oh, maybe this is my skip. But now I think it was right when we started watching when you showed me one of the performances.
When I showed you the performance.
Yeah, and now I just think it's a masterpiece. Like, honestly, this is one of their top songs.
I think Dionysus fits at the end of the album. On shuffle, I can get like, oh, this is not right. But because you've come down from Je me veux, and it's sort of, I don't want it to end low, so I always come off of like that low, and then I'm like, oh, Dionysus is here. Right, bang, let's end on a high. I think it's one of those where you really do need the performance with it, because from just an English lyric perspective, it can seem quite vapid. It doesn't have the depth, so you need the lyrics and you need the performance with it.
Were it the first song that were on at the concert?
Yes, yeah.
So it's weird how it's like the last song on the album, but then they like start off a world tour. The first song would be that song.
Yeah.
Well, it's a hype song, isn't it? Let's get hyped.
Yeah, exactly. What you said, I think, lead us neatly onto the performances. One of the ones that I linked is I can't remember. I sort of, which one was it? The
Mama one's the one that's got the intro.
Yeah.
RM does the voiceover about.
Yeah, and that one's cool. It's not as cool as the MMA one. Yeah.
The most amazing thing I've ever seen in
Honestly,
my entire life.
Yes, it's so good.
So good.
It's so good.
So good.
I think you kind of want to combine them. You want to do the intro bit and then also lead it into
You
this.
should.
But this MMA one was at the end of like a 40-minute set that they did. It has this absolutely incredible dance break from NO. So NO obviously is an earlier song. And in this dance break, man, they go up and down on this big long table, and there's dancers in the front, and they sort of get thrown off, and then they fall off, and other members get thrown on. So there's this bit right with RM and Jin. They're the only two members on the platform, and they sort of dance their way to the end, and then sort of out of nowhere,
RM and Jin fall off the table.
Yeah,
and who comes up?
And then Jimin and V come up. And they get sort of lifted onto the table. You don't notice this. They just appear on the table. But if you want, there's this explainer video based on the dance prac of how they did it. And definitely watch it. It's incredible.
And then they drop down, and then other people like pop up.
Yeah.
And then Hobie's vanished for a little while.
Yeah, I think Suga's there at the start with RM and Jin, and JK and Hobie have their little section as well. And then the dancers sort of in front of the table sort of cover the transitions really well. So you can only see like different members sort of popping up behind them. And then all of a sudden they're all on the table except RM. And they're doing a little dance break on the table, and then RM comes up, and yeah, it's just
and then they do the hand dance.
It's so good, and yeah, they're sat down. They're all sort of sat down at the table, and then they do this little dance with their arms and their heads. And we're doing it now, but you can't see us, so that's not super useful.
Going well. We nailed it.
Yeah, yeah, we did. And there's like little cups, I think, that they slam in the table, and it's so good. We're definitely not doing it justice, but definitely watch it. If you watch anything, watch that one. Oh, and the outfits are so good. They're in these like blazers,
like vampire,
like
aesthetic,
brocade, like Baroque style.
And there's blonde Joonie.
It's just and yeah, I've seen many a TikTok of Tae in his outfit, I must say, because he's got this like high collar shirt, and he's got the like black tousled hair that's sort of half length. He does this thing at one point, I think it might be towards the end, or it might be sort of in the performance, where he sort of looks like he's sort of chewing, and he sort of stares down at someone.
We're all pregnant.
Yeah.
Sorry, Natasha. I know. How you managed to watch that performance and that explainer and feel nothing is beyond me.
I know.
JK's got like red tint through his dark hair. I want him to bite me.
They all look absolutely incredible.
The highlight of all the Dionysus performances is right at the end. They all bring the chairs and then they sit on them, but their breathing's really heavy and they look so tired. And
yeah,
you're just
they look
like,
so.
yeah, just
But you're also really hot.
so hot.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Please look it up. It's great.
It is the best 6 minutes you will spend on YouTube today.
Honestly. So yeah, I think that's where we'll leave it. So should we move on to our awards, guys?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so what did we think was the best lyric?
So I agonised over my best lyric for a while. I guess one of the inspirations for the podcast was the realisation that sometimes, even if you really love something and you really enjoy something, when you then get the lyrics, you have a greater appreciation for it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get away from that, which means that my best lyric goes to Everyone Says I'm a Hero. Oh no. I say something like Destiny was never my thing. Oh no. World Peace. Oh no. A Great Order. Oh no. I Just Want to Keep You Safe.
Yeah.
Hobie takes best lyric in Boy With Love.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
My lyric goes to Microcosmos in the bit that comes just before the first chorus, where they say that some lights are ambitious, some lights are wandering, each person's light is a precious one. In the dark night, don't be lonely. Like all stars we shine, don't disappear. Be your existence is a big one, let's shine.
Beautiful.
It's the little sort of bit that Hobie does. Barham and Sugar sort of come in and do this like little word here and there, and it's really beautiful, and they all like rap lines together, and it's, yeah, I like it a lot. So, Natasha?
My best lyric would be, baby, I know I can make it better, I can hold you tighter, all those roads are pointing to you. From Make It Right. It has a very meaningful place in my heart.
Perfect. Right, okay, best vocal. What was your pick, Leanne?
So my best vocal was Jimin's High Note.
Nice. Yeah. Jimin's High Note in what?
In Microcosmos.
Yeah.
Microcosmos. Which is it's just so beautiful, and he does such a good job on it. And it comes right before the Shine Dream.
Smile, yeah.
Smile. I think you'd said about sometimes when Joonie does his vocals, you could sort of feel your heart racing.
Yeah.
And I did say, I might give my best vocal to Joonie, but I didn't. I give it to Jimin. It makes my heart race.
I mean,
beautiful.
I really wanted to give it to Joonie, but I already did for her, so I can't do it again. I really also enjoy the high note. And I think also just because we did To Go For School as a previous episode, he obviously does the high note in No More Dream. It's not quite as good. But it's a nice little contrast of sort of Jimin then and Jimin now, which he nails that high note every time. So yeah, well done, Jimin.
So your best vocal's the same as my best vocal?
Well, I was going to pick that best vocal, but just because you picked it, maybe I shall pick something else. I'll pick the intro to Make It Right, actually, where when Tay opens it, because he sings the low bit. The moment I saw myself, I had to leave. He sings that really well. So I'll give a shout out to my Tay.
Nice.
Yes.
Natasha?
My best vocal is from Microcosmos, the chorus, where he's like, Jimin says, you got me, and then Jungkook says, I got you.
That is very sweet.
And it's good,
a good pairing.
Good and right that Jungkook gets a best vocal, because he
deserves them.
Lead vocalist. Right, should we move on to best rap?
Yep, best rap.
Mine has already been mentioned, actually, which would be J-Hope's rap from Why With Love.
That's strong.
JK's in it as well. He's like...
Yeah.
Best rap for you, Christine? Is it going to Youngie?
Yes, it is.
I'm so shocked.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's his bridge on Dionysus. I tried, I really did, and then I read that and I was like, no, this is the best rap. There's just no one above, no one on side. Right, Leanne, what did you choose?
Youngie's Bridge gets special shout out. I really thought it was going to be Youngie's Bridge in Dionysus, and I was really happy for you and for me having found it and being like, it is Youngie's just swagging. And then I spent all my time with Jamais Vu and Hobie's Sab Rap, and I was lost. No, it's Hobie. Hobie's first sad rap in Jamais Vu, which is I blame myself for couldn't be perfect. All I wanted to do was do well. I wanted to make you smile.
Yeah. Right, should we move on? Best live performance.
Natasha?
My best performance would be the Home KBS 2019.
With the sofa on the stage. Yes.
It's a good one. Ours is the same, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
MMA
is.
Dionysus.
MMA Dionysus, 100%. Yeah.
Honourable mention to this brand new dance practice.
Yes, I put that too. I put honourable mention to the dance practice.
Honourable mention to the dance practice, but it is new out, so we've not watched it, so we will have to watch it again after recording.
Yeah. And then also, I think the one that I skipped was Best Dance Break, wasn't it? So we can do that now. Best Dance Break, Shock Horror. I also put Dionysus MMA 2019 on the table. That is the Best Dance Break. That's for me anyway.
Yep, same.
Dionysus, but I didn't put specific one. If I had to pick one, I'd have to pick the one that we had at our concert that you could actually see.
Yeah.
I'm sad about this, actually. I'm sad for Boy With Love because Dionysus is in there. So Boy With Love really should have taken some best performance, best dance break.
Yes.
It's brilliant.
I agree.
But that Dionysus performance is just, it's irrefutable.
It's irrefutable.
You can't argue with that. So I felt sad for
Boy
With Love.
Yeah, I wrote that too about Dance Break. I was like, I really, really love the Boy With Love dance. Anyway, okay, best look. Do you want to go first?
Yes.
Have you picked your bias?
I have not.
Wow, okay. I thought the way you looked at me, you were like, oh.
No, I was trying my best to stay away from Joonie's best look. The blonde Joonie in the shorts. My best look's really silly. I give best look to Jin in the musto with the baby hair.
Oh.
I can't. I don't want to live without it. It is in writing. Jin, best look, 2021 musto with the baby hair.
That's a great pick. What about you, Natasha?
Mine is JK at the Lotte family concert. Because of the pictures that I inserted, they're just amazing. Like, as soon as I found them pictures, like, that's it.
Right, I think you're the only one that has successfully not chosen your bias than Leanne, because I went Tay in the blue hair. I just think it's a classic look.
Maybe I should have
was tempted by Dionysus Tay, I mustn't lie. And I also want to say honourable mention to RM with the blonde hair and the pink orangey suit thing in Boy With Love. He really just looks spectacular.
Oh, maybe I do want blonde Joonie. No, I'm happy with Jen. But blonde Joonie, yeah. You're welcome at my house anytime.
Okay, are we on to the skip? It's a hard album to skip one on, but what did we pick?
I'll go first. Dionysus.
I am Doug.
But if, we could pick the persona.
These picks are terrible. no shade. But just shame. Right, what have you picked, Dan?
Yeah, I had to skip Home.
I picked Home as well, but it hurt. It really did. After reading the lyrics. Before the lyrics, I was very like, this one's fine. It's a bit boring. But then I read it and I was like, no, this makes me feel warm inside. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing with Home was it was challenging with the performances.
Yeah.
It was between Home and Make It Right.
Yeah,
for me.
Me as well.
And then I think Make It Right just shone a bit more lyrically. And then the music video. And then by then I was already sucked in for a while. Yeah, sorry, Home.
It's a hard album to skip.
I'm only skipping it once.
Definitely.
And only because there's a gun to my head.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll never skip Home again. Right, okay. Best song. Which one have we chosen? Do you want to go first on that one as well, Natasha?
Yep. My best song would be Microcosmos, because the sentimental value, it's a cry song.
Yeah, I agree. It's Microcosmos. I've tried really hard to reason giving it to Dionysus, and then I was like, no, I'm sorry, but it's Microcosmos.
So for my best track, I literally listened to the first 5 seconds of these 2 tracks that are in contention about 50 times. Just flicking between the 2 and playing the first 5 seconds and being like, how do you feel? So it was between Microcosmos and Boy With Love, obviously.
Nice. Okay.
I've given it to Boy With Love.
Really?
I know. It was partly the reflection on crying when I heard Boy With Love, when I knew we were getting here. It being such a beautiful song, that brand new dance practice, the music video. Yeah, I feel...
It was the first Korean song you really connected to, wasn't it? Yeah.
I'm sad that Microcosmos will not get a best track from me.
That's okay, because it got distracted from us. Right, okay. The time has come, guys. MVP.
Mine is J-Hope. Just for the fact that I think that in every song he's got like a very strong rap or like verse in whatever he does in this album. I feel like throughout the whole song it's always like, oh my god, yeah, that one. Oh my god, yeah, that one. Yeah, J-Hope.
Agreed. Yes. J-Hope, my MVP for Map of the Soul Persona as well is Hobie. He, I don't think we said this when we talked about Dionysus, but RM said in his V-Live that he wrote a lot of that song.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I love that song. And I think he really like bosses the call and answer part. His bit is the best one. All the rappers do it, but he does it best. His verse on Boy in Love is great. Yes, I agree with that. And his parts in Jamais Vu are just absolutely gorgeous. And he comes in on the last chorus, and that just adds so much. Because like the chorus is really like slow and like nice on its own, but when he sort of comes in with this like slow sad rap in the background, I'm like, wow, this chorus is the best. He does a lot of great rapping on this, but his sort of sing-songy rapping on Jamais Vu is just haunting, and that's why I've given it to J-Hope.
I couldn't agree more. I've also given it to J-Hope.
Nice.
I thought I was going to be the only one that give it to Hobie.
No. Clearly
the only thing you missed was Hobie in the blue jumper and Hobie in the cardigan.
Yeah.
Make it right performance.
Yes.
I think he just really, like you said, he really stands out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent job. Excellent job from Hobie.
Yeah, heavily Hobie wrecked during this.
Agreed.
Ratings.
Right. I do not want to go first.
Oh, interesting. I cannot split it from Love Yourself Here.
Okay.
It's a 6.5 for me.
Okay, Natasha.
I will go with 7.
Wow.
I was very between 6.5 and 7. There is 2 songs on it that like I'm not a massive fan of. But a few of the songs like double up on points. If you had to like only listen to one album, I've got enough to already skip the ones that I'm not a fan of.
She is going the same. Look at her.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, guys. This album's a 7. None of the songs are bad. They're like, obviously, I don't necessarily think any of their songs are bad, but there are some that are stronger than others, and I think this album is just packed full of them. And obviously, for me, the whole self-improvement piece was meaningful as well. So yeah, this is a 7. Right, shall we spin the wheel?
Where are we going? We're going back to school.
It's the school era! We're going back to school. So, next episode, we shall be doing Oh, Are You Late To?
I've got the album, yay!
Yay! I think you might like this more. I'm not saying it's going to be your favorite album ever, but it's better than Too Cool for School, I think, just from having more songs. Right, okay. Thank you so much for listening to Generation BTS, all the albums. This has been Map of the Soul Persona.
Natasha, what's our social media? Where can people find us?
On Instagram, we are GenerationBTS_, and on Gmail, it is GenerationBTS, all the albums @gmail.com.
And if you want to write us a review or put those 5 stars in on Spotify, that would be great. And we shall see you in 2 weeks' time for Oh, Are You Late To?
Here's your reminder to use BTS to love yourself, because none of this is a coincidence.
I've been Christine.
I've been Leanne.
I've been Natasha, and we have been
Generation BTS.
Thank you so much for listening, and please join us again in 2 weeks.
Whoop whoop.